In our last two videos of Warangal, we covered our trip to the Thousand Pillars Temple and the Bhadrakali Temple, both of which are filled with the rich history of the medieval period Kakatiya Empire. Kakatiya Kingdom reigned over the eastern Deccan region comprising of modern-day Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and parts of Orissa, where they ruled between the 12th and the 14th century AD. In the evening, we went to visit the famous Warangal fort. While Google Map directed us to another abandoned fort of that period, we finally found what we were looking for. The famous fort of Warangal, which tells us about the glory of that era, their passion for art, literature, dance and music, and eventually the fall of the empire at the hands of the barbarians due to constant attacks. The three most powerful rulers of the Kakatiya dynasty were Ganapati Deva, his daughter Rani Rudrama Devi, who succeeded him, and her grandson Pratap Rudra, whose rule is considered to be the golden and most prosperous period of the Kakatiyan rule. All of them contributed to the construction and beautification of this grand fort. Rani Rudrama Devi ruled as the monarch of the Kakatiyan dynasty for more than 25 years during the 13th century AD. She was one of the few women rulers of India at that time who was not only an able ruler but a strong warrior who strengthened the borders of her kingdom and repelled major threats from outside. The famous European traveller and merchant Marco Polo, who had visited the region during the 13th century AD, wrote about Rani Rudrama Devi vividly in his book named Travels of Marco Polo, where he described her as an able and benevolent ruler. The Warangal fort has 4 ornamental gates, which are also known as the Kakatiya Kala Thoranam. Each of the gates are 33 feet in height. All the 4 gates are placed on 4 corners of what once used to be the fort and the entrance to the grand Shiva temple, which was completely destroyed during the attacks. The architecture of these arches or the gates has been adopted as the emblem for the state of Telangana. The Kakatiya dynasty expressed itself best through their religious art, and their art preserved the balance between architecture and sculpture. This engraving must have been of goddess Durga with her 10 hands. We can see here that the upper portion of her face and the head were smashed off. It can be clearly seen that these are beautiful carvings of dancing girls, all of whose faces were disfigured during the barbaric attacks. Those artists must have created each of these magnificent carvings with so much of love and care. So many destroyed sculptures, but still reflecting their grandeur. There are broken and defaced statues of gods and goddesses lying everywhere. What we see here is the small portion of a pillar, and I am simply amazed to see such minute and fine designs in each and every corner of it. There are engravings of dancing girls, animal faces, and several artistic carvings. Rani Rudrama Devi was succeeded by his grandson Pratap Rudra, during whose time the Kakatiya Empire witnessed prosperity and abundance. Prataprudra introduced many progressive reforms in the field of administration. The prosperity of the Kakatiya kingdom attracted the attention of Alauddin Khilji of the Delhi Sultanate due to the possibility of loot and plunder owing to the richness of the empire. The gates have extensive intricate carvings of lotuses, garlands, mythical animals and birds. The carvings do not have any religious symbols, which is said to be the reason for not getting destroyed by the invaders of the Delhi Sultanate. In the year 1309, Khilji sent his general Malik Kafur with a huge strength of army to force Prataprudra into submission. The siege continued for several months until Prataprudra had to come to a negotiation in order to save his kingdom, as mass destruction were being carried out by the invaders on common citizens and villagers all over the kingdom. Prataprudra agreed to pay a huge booty to Khilji to establish peace. It was during this time that the famous Kohinoor diamond was taken away to Delhi from here. Amir Khusro, the writer in the court of Khilji, describes in his book how this fort was surrounded by two strong wall fortifications with a deep trench in between filled with water. The soldiers of Khilji had to fill the ditch with dirt to make way into the inner wall of the fort. Though Prataprudra agreed to pay a huge sum, which also included an annual tribute, still this peace was not for long, as again in the year 1318 the fort was attacked by Khilji's army. Prataprudra again paid a huge tribute to the Sultan in the form of a large number of horses and elephants and an enhanced annual tribute. Shaivism, or the worship of Lord Shiva, was followed during the Kakatiyan period, and hence we find several grand temples dedicated to Lord Shiva constructed during their time. Though Telugu language was their main language, still Sanskrit, which was fast losing prominence in North India due to the rule of the Delhi Sultans, it was revived here by the Kakatiyan kings through various literary works. For the third and the final time, the Warangal fort was again attacked by the new Delhi Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq in 1325. Their huge army came here and caused massive destructions and mass killings. The beautiful Swayambhu Shiva temple inside the fort was ordered to be destroyed. Prataprudra was captured and was taken away to Delhi as a prisoner. He died on the way on the banks of river Narmada. It is believed that he committed suicide, unable to bear the torture anymore. After the fall of the Kakatiya Empire, this area came under the control of the Delhi Sultanate, and there was a period of utter confusion and anarchy, as their way of rule was only to subjugate people and force them to follow their way of life. This continued for a while until the Nayakas under Pralaya Nayaka organized themselves and drove away the invaders who captured this territory. Pralaya Nayaka led the war against the invaders of Delhi Sultanate, and after his death, his son Munsunuri Nayaka completely expelled the Delhi Sultanate from the region. They formed an independent kingdom and restored law and order and ruled for many decades. However, this region again saw the rise of the Bahmani kingdom, which led to the fall of the Nayakas until the rise of the two brothers Harihara and Bukka of the Sangama dynasty, whose main motto was to resist the regular plunder by the Sultanate of Delhi and to protect the faith, tradition and culture of the land. They made Hampi their capital and named it as Vijayanagara, or the land of victory. Though the upper Deccan region, including Warangal, remained under the control of the Bahmanis, Vijayanagar Empire emerged as the strongest military power in South India at the time. We are soon going to visit Hampi to explore its history and rich heritage. If you like our video, please subscribe to our channel to get notified of our upcoming travel vlogs. Thanks for watching.